So you might be interested in living in Hudson Square in Manhattan, or you might be interested in finding out where this neighborhood is because you may have never even heard of it before. Now, Hudson Square is a downtown neighborhood that's west of Soho. So some people even call it West Soho. So on 6th Avenue, below West Village and west of Soho, that is where Hudson Square is. So we'll show it on the map here somewhere. So some developers like to call it West Soho to give it that Soho name, because obviously Soho is such a trendy neighborhood that people want to be in. So calling it West Soho also kind of puts that tagline on West Soho. So Hudson Square, it's all the way to the west side of downtown Manhattan, so it is a waterfront neighborhood. However, recently, there's been a lot of construction going on in this neighborhood. So if you're the type of person that is bothered by construction, this is definitely not going to be the neighborhood for you because there are so many new developments going on there. But if you're the type of person who wants to live in Manhattan and loves new development, then this also could be a neighborhood for you because there's a lot of gorgeous, unbelievably gorgeous new developments going on in Hudson Square right now. And it is close to Soho and the West Village and Tribeca. It's in between all three of those neighborhoods. So a lot of people also love the location because they're not in all of those crazy neighborhoods. Hudson Square is a little bit more quiet when it comes to actual foot traffic of people walking through the neighborhood. So they're also close to all those other neighborhoods with the hot dining and shopping scenes. So if you like new development and want to be near really, really trendy neighborhoods downtown, Hudson Square is for you. If you don't like noise of construction going on, or you don't like a quiet neighborhood, Hudson Square is not for you because Hudson Square itself is pretty quiet. There's not a ton of shops or a ton of dining going on in this neighborhood. You have to go to the surrounding neighborhoods for that. Mostly, there are a few places, but mostly at a grand scheme, you're gonna have to go outside of the neighborhood. But at the same time, these neighborhoods are so close. You can walk to Soho in literally like minutes, if not seconds, depending where you are. And same with the West Village and Tribeca, it's not a far walk at all, depending on where you are in the neighborhood. So you definitely do have these options there. Soho Trader Joe's is basically right in Hudson Square as well. So it's not like you have to go to another neighborhood for a grocery store. Now, it's also, like I said, it's a waterfront neighborhood. So if you have a dog or just like to walk or run on the waterfront, you can get there in minutes, if not seconds, because it's right on the waterfront. So you're not like in a neighborhood that you're like landlocked. You're actually more landlocked in Soho because Soho is in the middle of Manhattan rather than being on the waterfront like Hudson Square. So a lot of people don't know about Hudson Square, and because there's not as much going on there, I feel like people just don't talk about it at all. But it is a decent option to consider when looking downtown. So I at times had considered living in Hudson Square, but I had decided against it for me at that time personally because there was a lot of construction going on there, and I also had a dog at the time that I would have been bringing and walking on the streets around that construction, and I just didn't love it personally for me. But I've looked at apartments there for myself and my husband, and we just decided against it for us at that time. Now, at the time of this video, Disney's also going to Hudson Square, so I do think that that's going to drive a lot more traffic to Hudson Square, and Google is also in Hudson Square as well. So people do work in this neighborhood. However, those are the two big players. There's a little bit of co-working over there as well, but other than that, it's not like a huge neighborhood for work. It's more of a neighborhood where people are living. So when it comes to public transportation, for subways, you have to go to either Houston or Spring Street, which both are pretty close. The transportation is not really that bad. So you also can easily get a city bike in Hudson Square. I've city biked so many times in that neighborhood, and because it's not that busy of a street, it's not that hard to city bike around Hudson Square. I can't say that for all neighborhoods in Manhattan, but Hudson Square is a pretty decent neighborhood to city bike in. And when it comes to subways, you can easily get uptown or downtown through either Houston or Spring Street. So it's not a bad New York City neighborhood for commuting to other neighborhoods as well. So something really interesting about Hudson Square is that there's so much new development going on in Hudson Square, which is the complete opposite of Soho, because Soho, these apartments have been around for years and years and years, and both these neighborhoods are literally right next to each other. So you have Hudson Square, which is all this like new development, and then you have Soho right next to it, which is all like these historic apartments. It's very interesting, like contrasting neighborhoods. So like always, I think that it's a very personal decision what New York City neighborhood you decide to live in. So I can never really recommend a New York City neighborhood unless I know what you're interested in or what's important to you or where you work, because all those things matter so much. So I always say just to get a feel for the neighborhood at all different times of the day, during the day, at night, because you're not going to know until you spend time in that neighborhood. Now, Hudson Square specifically can also be really, really quiet at night. So that's something to consider too if that's not what you're looking for at night in a certain neighborhood. So I hope this video helped you, and at least if you haven't heard of Hudson Square, taught you what Hudson Square is in Manhattan. So if you have any questions or have experiences with Hudson Square, please leave them in the comments because I'd really just love to hear from you guys.